Hey, everybody, and welcome to another festive edition of the Audiophiles. I'm Johnny Zandy, and we are doing that thing where we look back over the whole year and think about all the mistakes we've made and try and mitigate the charges down to misdemeanors. Um, but also look at some of the wonderful songs. And we've done a few episodes where we've looked at songs that I've proffered up for the world, and also viewers' requests. We'll do an episode on that, but this episode is solely on the songs which Andy has selected and then tossed into the air and smashed with a big racket in my face. So what we're going to do is list our top three songs, which Andy's given me, and Andy's also going to list his top three songs which he has given me. But of course, with all of these things, there are a few songs which do not make the list. Not quite there. Um, Sort of Aston Villa. So we have a few honourable mentions, and I think I shall kick it off and list a few. These are not in any order. Some of these could have got into the top five very easily. Um, but yeah, I'll kick it off. So, Life and Times, Ice Cream Eyes. Um, yeah, I really like this. I think I said in the reaction, a sort of early U2 sound, galloping. Real fun guitars. And I said at the time, I know I liked it. I just didn't know how much I liked it. So I still don't know how much I liked it, but there you go. Um, Second honorable mention, Oh Brother, Lay Down. Return of the Musos. Yeah, these guys have come to know them as quality outfit. Bit like a reliable gentleman's tailor. But sounding differently. So yeah, real dense offering this one. Radiohead adjacent, but really another fantastic track and could easily have been in the top three.
Yeah.
Um, Everest, Let Go. I really like this. It's quite just felt like a really interestingly constructed narrative, with this subconscious sort of sadness to it all the way through. And I like the way it was kind of subtly manipulating your emotions by the actual sort of music.
Yeah.
So I thought that was cool. Um, Boxer Rebellion, Caught by the Light. Um, I think as one viewer commented, oh, this is like waves of emotion. And then, oh, I see you guys already said that. Sorry, I haven't got to that bit yet. But that's exactly what it is. Beautiful waves of emotion. I think this is a thoughtful and intelligent song. Really, really pleasure to listen to. Um, and or the fifth one on my list of honorable mentions would be Kenny Hoopla. As they said in Huzuka Proxy, I didn't expect all this hoopla. Um, how will I rest in peace if I'm buried by a highway? Yeah, this is kind of really unexpected, particularly as I took the massive mistake of assuming what I was going to hear based on the thumbnail, and then something completely different came out. But it was great. His other one was great as well that Andy gave me, and yeah, real talent. So yeah, they're my honorable mentions.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, we have a slight bit of crossover, and we'll get to that as I go through my five kind of outside looking in honorable mentions. Those are all really great choices. Any of them could have been on my list as well. I mean, to be fair, these are all songs that I love to varying degrees. So it's hard to pick,
One would
but
hope, yes.
yes, exactly, exactly. One would likely assume as well. But yeah, they're the five that you chose were awesome. I tried to really, for my top three, I tried to really focus on less my love for the song because that's too obvious, and more the joy I got out of your reaction or our discussion thereof, and some surprises maybe that came out of those. So I tried to like that's how I compartmentalized who was getting what designation in this whole list. So for my first, again, and like John's, these are in no particular order. But Okerville River Lost Coastlines was a really fun one to do with you. You instantly picked up on the "You Can't Hurry Love" slash "A Town Called Malice" bass line, as well as the as Jonathan Myberg's or voice two as or singer two as I think you called him, like he was some sort of Dr. Seuss character. Uh, he had his vocal stylings being akin to Morrissey, though lower and more subdued, and how the guitar had a touch of Johnny Marr-esque styling to it as well. So you did a great job picking out all the little Easter eggs, and you seem to really appreciate the lush use of strings and horns, particularly there in that latter portion of the song, and just the bouncy nature of the music. I had a lot of fun watching your reaction to this, and I had a lot of fun during our subsequent discussion thereof. So, yes, Okkerville River, Lost Coastlines. Next, Bad Books, Baby Shoes. I hate the bars. I love the bars. As the lyric goes that you openly guffawed at when Andy Hall delivered them. This song, along with another one that will be discussed a little later in the episode, are just a couple examples of a reoccurring theme here on the channel when it comes to certain songs I select for you. And that is your penchant for noticing and calling out similarities to the Pixies. It doesn't fail. When you notice it, you mention it, and when you mention it, I smile. So that's how that math works. You really seem to enjoy the spastic nature of some of the guitar flourishes by Kevin Devine and just the
Mm.
overall toying with the dynamics throughout the tune. And as you put it, loved it, loved it, loved it. So, of course, I have to say the same about your reaction and observations. Loved it, loved it, loved it. Third on my list, Tori Amos and Professional Widow, that great live performance. Tori Amos seemed to be somebody you had a very peripheral knowledge of. So it was nice to get her on the channel and to discuss with you her story and her talents. And given that this was a live performance, like I mentioned, she only gave us more fodder for our conversation. I mean, the very start of the video is her spitting out a mouthful of water, as you put it, like some sort of boxer or wrestler preparing between rounds. And I just thought that was great and spot on. And on more than one occasion, you noted the undeniable beauty of her voice. You called her performance impressive, fascinating, and full of attitude. And I think that that's inarguable. So this is where we have a little bit of crossover. I had to pick this one because it was the first of the two tracks that I gave you from him, and it did really boil down to just how kind of gobsmacked you were by the song. Kenny Hoopla, How Will I Rest in Peace If I'm Buried by the Highway? You seem tickled pink to have your expectations and preconceptions turned on their head based on the thumbnail, and I enjoyed watching that unfold and hearing you retell your experience. You smiled like the Cheshire Cat at points during the reaction as you described your affinity for his vocal tactics and style, and praised the drummer for his energy and consistency, calling him a goddamn machine. And you ended the reaction by saying you loved it and that it was brilliant. And I could say the same for my experience watching your reaction, John. And finally, my last honorable mention, and this was so hard to not put in the top three, if I'm being completely honest, and that is Half Moon Run Hotel in Memphis. Just it's a really fun video to watch anyway because it's in this really aesthetically pleasing location surrounded by forest in this place that they call the tree house with all these open panel windows and this string section set up and these three musical savants, picking up different instruments and doing multiple things at once. It was just all a lot of fun to watch, and I was so looking forward to your reaction to this. And it starts with you saying, "Okay, piano, I'm in. That sounds fucking awesome." And that was just seconds into the song. So not a bad way to start off a reaction, just a few seconds into a track. And this was the only start, and this was only the start of your growing affinity from the moment you hit play. When the singer began, you stopped to praise his voice. And when the strings were featured, you stopped to laud them as well. And when the drummer simultaneously drummed, sang harmonies, and played the keyboard, you shouted, "Love it," with a smile on your face. And it was such a beautifully crafted song, only made that much more enjoyable by the live aspect. So it was great to see you appreciate all of that and draw comparisons to such disparate acts like Ben Folds, ELO, and Hall & Oates, which is really interesting to get all three of those in one sound. But that's kind of what happened here. You described it as sort of that classic, American middle of the road sound, but there were these added flourishes that gave it kind of a different dimension as well. So yeah, it was a lot of fun to watch you react to that which is a really beautiful song and great performance. So those are my 5 outside looking in.
Okay, so just a little a little insight here to folks at home. So to avoid us just picking the same three songs, we put together a shareable spreadsheet. And of course, when you snooze, you lose. And so two of these and one of his top three, I could have easily put into my honorable mentions. But Andy got in there first, and I'm not bitter in any way. I will say I did enjoy the sort of the combination of banjos and Johnny Marr of Kill Phil River. It was
Yeah.
hilarious. Bad Books would have been in my honorable mentions because of the Pixies influence and the fact that your man on guitar looks like he's just been airlifted in um, from some other worn-torn state, and he hasn't quite got over the shock yet. And it's just brilliant. And that Half Moon Run Hotel in Memphis, yeah, is was an absolute delight. I got a similar song in terms of the way it makes me feel, and it's kind of, you could say it's a bit sort of, I wouldn't say middle of the road, but old school.
Mm.
These sort of songs like this trigger a memory, and it's kind of like a memory of a feeling of listening to certain American songs from the late 70s or driving home from somewhere late in the back of a dad's car and it'll be on the radio. And it could be like the Eagles, it could be whatever, but it's got that warm sound to it and nostalgia straight away. And this is one of those. It's just done really well. So
Yeah.
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 But yeah,
Great.
great picks there.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Let's get on to our top threes. In a way, this was difficult. In a way, it wasn't because, yeah. Well, okay. I'll tell you what I picked and how I picked it. So number three, Murder by Death, Riders. I was about to go into something there, but it was a great start. And I don't know if it's because I'm tired or whatever, but it already feels quite emotional. It's just really nice piano and those strings. Just it hits the right spot straight away.
Horses coming over the ridge. What a pretty sight. I spy a Palomino in the front, but something isn't right.
Yeah, there's atmosphere. Oh, I'm gonna pull that back. When I just stopped it, it changed obviously into the next bit, and there's a sustained bit that carries on through it, and he's got, I think I heard slight sort of reverb to his vocals, which I know I've said in the past sometimes pisses me off, but here it's just, it gives that sense of air and space to it. Um, yeah, that just really struck me. That's cool. Right, I think
Horses coming over the ridge.
Okay.
as we discussed, I was thankful that it was nothing to do with the soundtrack to a trashy Jilly Cooper novel. Um, I really like this. I thought the straight from the get-go, like the intro, built this atmosphere and this emotional heft with a beautiful piano and violin, and it didn't really let up from there. And then I discussed him actually. There was this note that went through, and then his voice came, and the whole thing went from TV ratio to widescreen CinemaScope. Um, and it did his voice with that slight reverb, just gave this extra airy spaciousness to it. Again, this sort of widescreen cinema feel. The waltzing strings of the chorus as he sings "So Let 'Em Ride" are gorgeous, particularly the cello. So there's great line shade in this, and the acoustic guitar, the organ, that bass that's tiptoeing like one of the palominos on the prairie, just little steps. And there's even a couple of seconds of like a Robert Smith guitar that just. So yeah, cinematic and open armed, I'd say. And it just really created a whole impression for me in a picture. It's almost like some bits of No Country for Old Men in terms of the landscape I was seeing. But I don't think this song would have fit in that film, but you know what I mean in terms of the visuals.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think you're spot on with that. It is one of the more cinematic songs I think I picked out probably last year. Those songs are so good to just put on and let the visions just kind of come to you. And they do such a good job at painting a picture. And yeah, you're right. The cello was stellar in that, as was that bit of guitar that you mentioned as well. And I'm glad it made your list because it was hard for me to not add it to mine because it was a really good tune. I enjoyed both of our discussions as it related to our murder by death videos. So great shout, John. I will get into my number 3. And that is Beach Goons HRSB, or Hood Rat Scumbags, which was another live performance on Audio Tree.
No. We're starting that again. 3 minutes. Yeah, we're starting that again. Awesome sound. First salvo kind of made me think of Pixies a bit. Anyway, yeah, listen to that again. Drums sounded excellent. The bass sounded superb. Guitars, what more do you want?
Things won't stop changing now, but no need for stress, no need for wine.
They're doing that trick, and I know. Oh, I'm sorry to bring this up, but you know, if there is a time that I can think of Pixies, I do think of Pixies. They did it. Loads of other bands do it as well, but they do this bit where he'll sing a line fairly subdued, and then step back and just thrash the guitar a bit, and then come back in and sing a song, and then sing a line, then come back and thrash the guitar a bit, and it's just really pleasing. Yeah, it's almost like he's underlining what he's just said. Sorry, but the bass player, it looks like a beat up version of Richard Ayoade. And such a big ear in it, and this lovely, gentle voice coming out of it. I find that charming.
You're watching Audio Tree Live. We're in the studio with Beach Goon.
I mean, there's some things that are obvious, but some things it's hard to really pinpoint exactly why. But I bloody love that. I thought it was really immediate, engaging, energetic. Well, a great performance as well for clearly young set of lads, but they seem confident and accomplished. It's almost feeling that there's a little bit of like showing off, but not quite. But you know, you get that, yeah, we're this good. And fair enough, you are. And yeah, I want to check out more of this band. Definitely.
And here is where we have another one of your keen observations correlating to the sound of the band I've recommended to that of the Pixies. And it was quite obvious you had a lot of fun listening to and watching this performance, from the crashing guitars, the noodling bass work by your giant version of, was it Richard Ayoade? Is that what his name is? Yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you. And the ferocious drums coming from this really young 3-piece, and we both love a good 3-piece on the channel. So there really is no denying the energy or the talent on display in this track, and you honed in on that from the very start. And so when you ended your reaction saying that you wanted to check out more of the band, it really put the icing on the cake for me. And hopefully I can get more of them on the channel in the next month or so. Because you said you wanted to hear more of them, and well, damn it, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do just that. So yeah, I loved your reaction to these guys. You had a lot of fun. You were smiles throughout the video, which isn't always the easiest thing to garner from you. The more stoic of the two of us. So yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that episode with you, John.
Yeah, this would have been in my list somewhere, if you hadn't already taken it. I will say this: I've looked at trying to get the this album vinyl, and you just can't. It's not even available. And if it was, it'd be silly money. But yeah, I did really enjoy the blend of Pixies and a bit of Parquet Courts for me. You know, their third, fourth album. Yeah, and that three-piece energy, and all three of them really had something to offer. It was great, and that sort of I really loved it when they cut to that sort of strutting sort of rhythm
Yeah,
right before
they
back
totally
into the sort
manipulated
of
the tempo.
yeah the Hispanic kind of surfer finale, which is very Surfer Rosa. I know again, it's great sound. So yeah, brilliant.
Awesome.
Okay, number 2 from me is surprise. Gusta Satellite live at Terrytown Music Hall.
Stars, are you what I think you are? You're my satellite.
Yeah, favorite sounds is acoustic guitar being strummed well, and it is here, and the two vocals work really well. It's got a bit of that sort of old-fashioned feel to it, which is nice. It's a little bit folksy and a little bit rocky. It's got a nice rolling rhythm to it. I like the fiddle. Hopefully there'll be a bit more of that. Yeah, all good, all good. It's great.
You're riding with me tonight. Passenger side, light in the sky. Always the first time I find you're my satellite. Elevator to the moon. Whistle in a favorite.
So just to say, I'm really enjoying the bass as well. It's just complementing it really, really well. And his harmonies there were really nice as well. Added a bit more to it. This is it's making me feel a bit nostalgic. I don't know because it feels old school. But yeah, it's quite simple, but it's really enjoyable. Just sounds pure.
Trying to get her closer to you.
Now, this is a strange one because I enjoyed it definitely when I watched it, but it wasn't like going to be a top 3 song for me. But I put it on a playlist and a number of months ago, and it's steadily wormed its way into my brain. And there's, I'll tell you what it is a couple of things. There's something very simple but pure about this sound.
Mm.
It's very communal and it's instantly engaging and welcoming. The group vocals with the acoustic guitars are a touch folksy, but also a touch kind of campfire song. So you feel welcomed and you want to join in mentally. Um, and there's instant faux nostalgia, which we talked about just now. You know, this makes me nostalgic for something which I've never experienced before.
Yeah.
But it just, just add hot water and some fiddles, and you got the nostalgia there. Superb bass on this. Harmonies were just wonderful, and actually their chords choices were just beautiful as well. Just the chords. It was old school. It was nothing shocking or revelatory at all. It was just a pure stand-up song, and it makes you feel part of something when you hear it. And I love it more with each listen. So that's our number 2.
That's awesome. And you know what? If you would have asked me, I would have said that this was a song that you really liked, but it would have surprised me that it made your, and it is surprising to me that it made your top 3, but as you've so eloquently illustrated, like you put it on a playlist, and the next thing you know, you know, it put its will on you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you, yeah, that's how music works sometimes. And yeah, there is some. It's funny because in ways there it's not too different from how you describe your experience with Half Moon Run. And I would say
Exactly.
that
Yeah.
these guys are kind of like a folksier version,
Yeah.
a little bit stripped back version of Half Moon Run as far as like genres and what they bring to the table. So in that way, I guess it isn't that big of a surprise. But it is an incredibly lovely tune. It does give you some fuzzies. And yeah, it's also a really good campfire song too, if I might add. So yeah, really, really cool song. Great shout, John. I'm glad you enjoyed it as much as you've grown to over the
Yeah.
last few months. So all right. Well, I will move on to my number 2 selection. That selection is Me Without You, January 1979.
January 1979 saw a terrible crash. It couldn't help but laugh. My ear pressed against the path like a glass on the wall of a house in a photograph. My forehead no longer sweet with holy kisses.
I like these vocals actually. It's on that edge of shoutiness, but not quite there. And the way he said a couple of words there, it was like quite British almost. And I liked also that his mate chipped in at the side, singing another line. I like that sort of stuff as well.
Watch me like a 10-car highway wreck with the tap. Full of curiosity. It's looking down the top to the house of us passers-by from your 7th floor balcony.
Catching some words, and it's that sort of combination of slightly more intelligent, not flowery, but something about no longer worthy of your fiery lips. It's a nice way of putting things. So there's a bit of sort of intelligence there in there, but it's also sounding like pissed off and anguished as well, which is cool. After that sort of rhythmic refrain there, when it came back in again, there's that guitar doing those high notes. It's really, really nice. Like this.
After years with their frown on my head, I've grown over thin. Unconcerned and comfortably not kept busy.
And I am a strong believer in second chances in life. And here we have a classic example of why they should be afforded. So I will say that despite my undying affinity for the fox, the crow, and the cookie, it was clear that it didn't quite resonate with you as it had with me. And so I knew I had to go back to the Me Without You well, to give them another shot at redemption. And I think it's safe to say that I chose wisely. You warmed up to the vocal stylings of this track and the delivery, and even the lyricism of this track as it progressed. And the higher registered guitar work really stood out throughout the song to you, as I recall. And I totally agree with your assessment that it is a musically rich song, and that the vocals add another layer of complexity to that. And again, as you said, you were left impressed and wanting to instantly listen to it again. So, needless to say, I was chuffed, to borrow a word from your parlance, with how well this second Me Without You song was received by you. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. And I was kind of like, waiting with bated breath to see how your second dalliance with Me Without You would go. And I was, so stoked when you came back saying how much you enjoyed it. So.
Yeah, yeah. If the two songs by Me Without You were a film, it would be Twins. Danny DeVito, Arnold Schwarzenegger. Leave you to guess which is which.
Hmm.
Don't shoot, I'm a cop. Yeah, I thought this was really rich, as you said, full of influences. The ones who are easy to pick out, Sonic Youth, definitely. And I've forgotten the guy's name again, but the lead singer out of Smash, which is a British band, but the way he's pronounced certain words was exactly the same. It was really interesting. Um, but yeah, I think this is just really well put together and just made it a very interesting and sort of really rich and full sound and listen, a total ride. Yeah, so yeah, it was a great track.
Awesome. Glad you liked it, man.
And no puppets to be seen anywhere, thank
No,
God.
no stage work, none of that.
And drum. So my number one pick will probably be no surprise to you at all. And that is Per Ubu, Humor Me.
Here's a word, what a word, what a word, what a big world, what a word to be drowned in. It's just a joke, man. It's just a joke, man. It's just a joke, man.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I really enjoyed this actually. It's got that really good rhythm section. There's that sort of classic beat of that time, and then his ponderings over the top. It has an element of the sort of existentialism about it, almost absurdist. It sort of puts me in mind of a Samuel Beckett scenario. I like the way he says, "It's just a joke, Mon." The synth line is quite insane. It almost feels like mental meandering. And it feels like, I'm sure it isn't, but it sounds like it's been played with like a pen, like a stylophone, going all over the place. And that's really cool. And it's almost like buzzing in your head. Yeah, this feels like he's not coping with stuff. And the easiest thing to say is just a joke, man. Yeah, really interesting. I was always told that early Perubu was like lumped in with punk, and this is not punk at all. It's not really even post-punk. I think my rambling's gonna take longer than the song. Actually, I'll try and shut up.
What a big world, what a word to be drowned in. It's just a joke, man.
And claps.
It's just a joke, man. It's just a joke, man.
That drumming's nice. And the bass.
Another day, we'll suffer, and that's the way of the West. Suffer.
So I had admitted that I'd been previously turned off Perubu after listening just randomly. I think it was one album called Why I Hate Women. I wasn't really that impressed by it at all. But my view of them has totally been changed around by this. So whatever labels you want to put on this, post whatever, avant garage was definitely a masterpiece. It's behind this sort of really steady, rhythm section. There's noodling guitar and there's spazzy warblings from this keyboard, stroke stylophone, stroke almost theremin at times, which kind of was this like bleep machine of his mental state, just another day. Anyway, absolutely polarizing vocals, which I adored, as you would. Again, I might point out touches of early paranoid David Byrne in certain words. But yeah, real charisma to his voice as well. From singing to almost speaking parts, but as just the character came across so strongly. That wonderful guitar solo that stretched into something other. I mean, almost like became like bits of huge machinery clashing. the sort of industrial sound without what the industrial connotations mean nowadays, but physical industrial. I even tolerated the hand claps. It's just a joke, Bon. I love that. And what even topped it off, a couple of things, was we got a comment from Ubu Projects, which apparently is the art and business directive of Pair Ubu and other bands. And they said, thank you. Not only is our name pronounced correctly, but it's a really intelligent review. You humored us. I think that's really great to get that from
Yeah,
those
that was one of
guys.
the. If we were ranking comments of the year, that would be high up there for me as well. Because
Yeah.
yeah, it was
Top
really
three,
sweet of them to
really.
just pop in and take some time when
Yeah.
they didn't need to do that at all. You know what I mean?
And yeah, and just sort of I laid off the album this is from, but on eBay there was a random auction and it was going dirt cheap, so I got their second album on vinyl. I haven't listened to it yet because I said I wouldn't, but that ain't gonna last much longer. So
Okay. Well,
really interesting. So yeah, I think, I mean, in terms of the songs you've given me, this is a missing piece of knowledge, but it fits right into sort of all the shit I love as well. And it's experimental enough to be something different that I haven't heard in terms of that. And that time period as well was just a wonderful time for people to do all sorts of crazy shit.
yeah.
And this is one of those bits of crazy shit which I really liked.
Yeah, well, I'm not pretentious enough to act like I, showed you something or connected some missing link. Someone was kind enough to show me what I had missed, because this predates me. And I was a little shocked, that that you had listened to that, not that you had listened to it, but that you hadn't taken to them. So it was great to kind of like give them a second chance, like I mentioned a moment ago, bring something in that maybe you hadn't given we talked about this before, that if the palate can change every 7 years on your tongue, then I'm surely how you take in music and respond to music can
Yeah.
evolve and change as well. So I'm glad that we had a chance to revisit them and that you liked it as much as you did. The bass work in this song is so great and absolutely infectious. And that's one of the things that drew me in. And then, yes, David Thomas is such an interesting cat, man. And he's a horribly underrated figure from this kind of period in American music when a lot of experimenting was being done. And so I think he was at the forefront of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm really, really glad that you enjoyed this. I do have some Pair Ubu lined up for the early parts of 25 that I'd like to get on the channel as well before you completely open the floodgates, so to speak. So yeah, there will be definitely some more Pair Ubu in the future. And I'm sure you look forward to that. I'm really glad that you enjoyed this listen of Humor Me. So good stuff. Great pick, John. And now I will pick my number one from the year 2024. My favorite experience watching you react and discussing with you the song and the artist. And that song and artist is, or I really should say artist and song is, And You Will Know Us by the Trail of Dead, Another Morning Stoner.
Yeah, this is good. This is really good. That guitar riff is really nice and it's catchy and has a certain kind of maudlin quality to it as well. It's undefinable, you just feel it, and it's definitely there. I have to say though, the drums sound fantastic. And they're always there, but they're not overwhelming, but you cannot bloody miss them. He's doing a great job. And the bass, it's like a softer version of Sonic Youth. And it sounds really good. That was really nice, the way they went into that sort of instrumental meander. I thought I could hear some noises coming through. I didn't know if it was a synth or something. It was just faint noises, and then you just really quite low in the mix, these strings or string-like effects. And yeah, that guitar is more and more sort of haunting, the way it goes and comes back, and then it's sort of drifting and swirling, especially with the strings as well. Really pretty. And I like the way they sort of brought it back to the front. It just takes a sort of the curve of it goes right down and then back in again. Yeah, that was really good. I enjoyed that. Heat big time, as they say. Yeah, really nice touches to it. So I really enjoyed that instrumental bit. And the way that it just sonically, the curve went and down and kicked back into that main refrain again. And then it built and built and built to the climax. Really nicely done. Yeah, really impressed. I mean, all of it. The guitar's really good. I did like his voice, actually. Had a nice edge to it. The bass, particularly the first half, we could really hear it clearly, was really good. And the drumming was exceptional as well. There was that bit in the instrumental where it was almost pulsating, and you had these mini explosions of like the cymbals, but it really controlled it was just this rippling out. Really nicely done. Yeah, impressive. Impressive.
This was a lot of fun to just chop it up with you about and to get your input on and just to watch how you reacted to it in real time when I was performing the editing process for this. So you started with, yeah, this is good. This is really good, which is an excellent quote. And with that quote, I agree. You honed in on and mentioned the undeniability of the drums in this track, and just their sort of ever presence. And you drew comparisons to not the Pixies, but again, Sonic Youth, which is another one of your go-tos, as you mentioned earlier, particularly in the bass work on this track. And also, it was genuinely fun to watch how that main guitar riff grew on you as the song progressed, because it really is the hook of the whole song. And you had this like great observation that I love so much. I loved how you described it sonically as having this curved effect, and how where each part would like almost dip into the next in this very fluid but connective way. And I just thought that that was a really interesting way of describing it, because it was kind of like this flow chart where everything kind of it's seamless, really is what it felt like. And you worded the truth so well, just as you did when you described the instrumental portion as pulsating with many rhythmic explosions. You called the track impressive, and that is the same word I would have used to describe it all those years back when I heard it for the first time. So yeah, it was really cool to watch you have such a similar experience to what mine was like when I first heard this track. They seemed like a really raucous bunch of guys. I think every other shot was them with some form of liquor or beer in their hand, throwing guitars around, tearing up the stage. They looked like they were having a lot of fun over in your neck of the woods. So yeah, I really love this tune, and it was great to feature it on the channel with you, man.
Yeah, I listened back to this again, and I was struck by a couple of things actually. So yeah, I still got that Sonic Youth sort of guitar riff and bass, definitely. Um, but I noticed the start of the song, the vocals are almost quite Britpopish, and then they become more sort of it's almost like they start to fray. And I mean that in a nice
Like
way.
almost post-hardcore American
Yeah,
post.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
So they go from Britpop into sort of the American sort of style, throughout the song, which is good. And yeah, I have to confirm that clearly the drummer was related to the sound engineer or the person who mixed this. It's probably his nephew or something, because I mean, the drums were like, that's the most up I think I've ever heard in a song like of this style. I mean, it really, yeah, someone just laying on the console there as he's like mixing it. But it'll be all right. It'll be all right for, yeah. But it was great to hear. It was different, and yeah, this was a lot of fun,
Awesome.
definitely.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, I'm glad you enjoyed it. I really am. And guys out there in the audience, whether it was a John track or an Andy track or any number of you who offered it up, we're so thankful for you guys tuning in and giving any of these songs a chance. Whether you like them or you don't like them or the middle of the road to you, the fact that you give them a chance and still come back for more, it doesn't go unnoticed by us, and we really do appreciate your guys' presence on the channel. And we wouldn't keep doing this if it wasn't for all of you, especially those of you who are so interactive with us. We could name you all, but I think you all know who you are. Just go to any of our comments field through our Monday through Friday episodes, and you'll see, in any random week throughout the last 2 years who y'all are. So really, really do appreciate that. I don't, I'm sure I speak for John when I say that, but it really is a blast doing this, and you guys kind of help make it that and keep it fresh for us. Not only in your interactions with us and each other in the comments field, but also the great songs that we'll cover on the episode devoted to those songs that you offer up to us throughout the year. So yeah, huge part of our community and frankly our content and our channel. It's the end of the year. It seems like what better time than any to express your gratitude for your fellow man. So thank you so much. And here's hoping that 25 brings more of the same, which has been just good tunes and great conversations. It's been a privilege to do this with John for the last 2 years. And honestly, even before that, when we were featuring when Greg was gracious enough to bring us into the music. And I can say with complete sincerity that I have a friend, a really good friend that I've never got to even meet face to face before, but that we meet so often that we've really built a really great relationship centered around music and other mediums of art that we discuss off camera. So yeah, and if it wasn't for you guys keeping it fresh and keeping us involved, who knows where that friendship would be. So again, thank you so much. John, do you want to add anything before I send us off quickly here?
Yeah, no, it's just what you said. It's been a real blast, and yeah, it's the guys' comments and your suggestions. Even if we don't feature them on a Friday, but we just go in and check them out, it all adds to the mix in terms of our experience. So yeah, that's great as well. So yeah, thanks a bunch to everybody.
Well, John, I appreciate you guys out there. If you don't know by now, we do appreciate you as well. And hopefully we'll catch all of you on the next installments of the Audiophiles. We'll see you later, guys. Have a great 2025.